Aloha family, I am excited to announce that one of my partners, Kava Roots, they are a clothing brand based out in Hawaii. Now, Brother Stephen Kakayo, he is the owner of the company. He is also an artist, but he's launching something really special in the next couple of days. If you're wondering what that means, if you go to Instagram.com/Kava_Roots, I'll put everything in the description. He's going to be launching a limited edition product. If you're wondering what that means, I've done quite a bit of posts, live stream videos. The hat that I wear when I do podcasts and all of my live streams, that's from Brother Steven. So go to Instagram.com/Kava_Roots. He's going to be launching this product. It's going to be limited to 100 pieces, and I promise you it'll be gone within, if not 3 hours, maybe less, because the last drop that he did, it was 3 hours, and he literally took it to the location and it was gone. He had online orders, they were gone. So go to Instagram.com/Kava_Roots. Everything Hawaii, everything Kanaka Maoli, as we say. If you're passionate about Maui, passionate about the Big Island where I'm from, you don't want to miss this product drop. Instagram.com/Kava_Roots. That's Brother Stephen Kakayo's company. Check out all his artwork. Go ahead and put in a DM. Tell him, hey, I want to be included in this drop. So make sure to go to Instagram.com/Kava_Roots. Check out the artwork. Put your name on the list. Hopefully you are able to get that. So family, thank you once again. Thank you for your support. Aloha family, want to announce our new merch is up. If you go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, it'll take you to our storefront. A very special limited run of our Vision t-shirts are up. Very special colors from Holy Land Light Olive, Sweet Banana Cream, Pure White, Sahara Desert Cream, and our final color of this offering is Sweet Baby Blue. Go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, check out what we have. We also have pickleball paddles in multiple colors. We have stickers. Also, our N Hakora branding, we have that as well. Beanies, coffee mugs, all of those things are in our storefront. Be sure to go to therealgilo.com, click on merchandise. And once again, family, thank you so much for your support. As we say in Hawaii, mahalo nui loa.
Woke up every day like this. It's a brand new day. Hey. Wake up every morning and say it's a brand new day. Hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay? Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade. Yeah, chase those clouds away. It's a brand new day. Hey, it's a brand new day. It's a brand new day. Okay.
Aloha family, it is so nice to be in the middle of the night. My wife had her dessert and I was waiting for her to finish eating her ice cream, and she had this cone that was, I don't even know what you call it, but it was crunchy. So I gave her a few minutes. I turned off the computer, let it cool off for a minute. But thank you for listening. You are listening to Glow Sessions. That is always a self-branded podcast. We are also live on all socials. And I just want to thank you guys for just hanging out and being with me on this journey. I was making a list earlier of people that I've had on here, and I've had some pretty interesting people on here. I've had TV show people had their own reality TV shows. I had two people that had TV shows. One of them had a reality show out there in Alaska. And then another one had what do you call that? Anyways, it was Sarah Listy. If you look her up on socials, she's an amazing craftsman. She's a builder, and she had a TV show. I cannot remember the name of it to save my life. I think it's Murder House Flip. That's the name of the show. And I've had two clinical psychologists on here. I've had a UN ambassador speak for a minute. Who else? I've had some very interesting people. And but I'll tell you what I'm excited about. I've got you. And so thank you for hanging out and listening. And I just found out that every time I upload an episode, it automatically sends it out to the people that are subscribed. So for those of you that are subscribed on my Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even YouTube, if your notifications are on, thank you. And I've got something new I'm going to try. I tried it before, but I didn't get much traction because I didn't know how to do it technologically. But I have a hotline. It's 541-903-8327. That's 541-903-8327. And what you can do is you can call in. You can leave a message. You can leave a comment. You can tell me a story that's 3 minutes long. So if you go over 3 minutes and you really want to tell the rest of the story, you're going to have to call back in. But it's kind of cool. I hope I get to hear some of you guys speak and some of you guys share your stories and questions and comments. And I promise you, we will go through them. And if it's something that's usable, whether through content, if it fits and the other quality is good enough, then we'll put it on one of our shows, whether it's a live stream or a podcast. We'll try to squeeze it in there. So once again, thank you, family. And I tell you what, I was driving. Where was I driving? I won't tell you exactly where, but I'll tell you what state. I was driving in Oregon. And in Oregon, what I appreciate about Oregon versus Hawaii is that the traffic flow, it's, for the most part, it follows the rule of law. And in Hawaii, we have our own rule of law, which is the aloha law spirit. So I won't go into detail. I'll talk about that maybe later. But in Oregon, I noticed that if you're in a passing lane, then you're in a passing lane, which means you should be actively passing someone in order to be in that lane. So here's the story. I'm driving in a passing lane to overtake someone, and I notice that this person is speeding up as well. And I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, but I notice that they are. And so I'm like, okay, I got to get ahead of them because I don't want to get caught in a passing lane not passing somebody. So I'm gunning it. I won't tell you how fast I was going. Just put it this way, I was speeding, and I had to get over. And so I'm sure there's a better alternative to what I did. But anyways, I'm speeding, and I just had a feeling when I get over this hump of this passing lane, I better get over and just let off the gas. And sure enough, but by the time I see the highway patrol, and let me just pause on this story. I'll finish it, and I promise I'll finish it. So Oregon versus Hawaii, I noticed that the police officers in Oregon do not turn on their lights for anything other than a pursuit or an emergency situation. So where we're from, where we live, there's like 2,500 police officers on that one island that we're from, right? And it's a lot. So basically 2,500 police officers. Now that's just the police officers. That's not including the sheriffs. Okay, that's just for the city. So that's for 1 million people. And that's a lot. And that's not including, of course, we got federal and all this. So here's my point. All the cops in Hawaii, at least in Honolulu, if they're driving, their lights are always on. So you know where they're at. Not in Oregon. Bro, they can be right behind you. You would never know unless you recognize the 3 key vehicles. And the Oregon Highway Patrol, from my experience, they all drive silver Dodge Chargers. And they have those really funny looking hubcaps. And you just know that. And they got the battering rams on them. So here's the story. Here's the finishing part of the story. I didn't see this guy. Although I seen him at the last second. I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, I just let off the gas and I actually pushed on a brake a little bit. And so there's this truck behind me and he kind of let off the gas, but he was still speeding. We were both speeding. I deliberately did push on the brakes, but I already know that if I got pulled over, I would have gotten a ticket. And so here's the funny thing about this story is that in my 20s and my 30s, I would have been stressed out, like legit, like, oh my God, I'm going to get a ticket and I got to, my insurance is going to go up and I don't have, I don't have this paperwork. I don't have that paperwork. I don't have my license. That would have been a reality a few years ago. But now that I'm pushing 50, I'm like, I'm nervous. It's just a natural response. But I would accept the fact, hey, if I get a ticket, I'll pay the fine, and if there's an insurance rate hike, I'll that's fine. I'll take it like a champ, So fortunately, I slowed down, and the guy in the truck did not, and he kept going, and I was like, oh no. And sure enough, the highway patrol, he actually got in front of me, and I'm thinking, is he gonna pull me over and make me slow down? Because I've seen that happen. And he makes me slow down and everybody behind me slow down. And the truck goes ahead of him, and then he gets behind the truck, and then he turns on his flashers. And so I'm like, okay, I'm safe. I'm good. That is the legit Oregon Highway Patrol. It's so funny because since I've been in Oregon, I've been pulled over 4 times in the course of 12 months. And I've been, I won't tell the details of the story, but I've been approached by the Portland police once. And so I tell you, the cops here are legit. They don't play around. Like, and I haven't gotten a ticket. And let me just throw that out there. Even though I've been put over, or I've had conversations with police officers 5 times since I've been in Oregon, I haven't gotten 1 ticket. And so I will say, you know, the 5-0 in Hawaii, I've been put over many times, and I've gotten enough tickets to have some rate increases. So here's the story. Here's the moral of the story. Number 1, don't speed. I had a funny story years ago when I was much younger. I had someone had told me that when they got a ticket, they said there were no signs anywhere. There were no speed limit signs. And I remember that roadway, and I remember, I swear there was more than 2 signs. And it's so funny that there were 6 signs that gave the speed limit. And my brother, and we'll talk about him in just a second, my brother had a very funny response to people that speed and who dispute getting speeding tickets. And my brother, he said, just don't speed and you'll be fine, you know. And it's funny that he says that because we go through, at least I've gone through so many scenarios in my mind where I've gotten pulled over, and I'm like, I know I wasn't going 57 in a 45 or whatever it was, right? But in reality, I knew I was speed. So my brother's advice was obviously very good. Just don't speed. And so, you know, and we're going to spend a few minutes talking about cops because that was the first thing. I took some notes, and if you've ever watched Hawaii 5-0, they're totally not accurate as far as the cops, but they're pretty accurate on locations and things like that. The old Hawaii 5-0, the new Hawaii 5-0. But if you've ever been to Hawaii, they have these cops, and we call them solo bikes. And those guys are on motorcycles, and their only job literally is for traffic enforcement, or sometimes to help with emergency situations because they can weave in and out of traffic. So solo bikes are guys on those motorcycles, kind of like Chips, the California, you know, Highway Patrol guys from the TV show. But in Hawaii, man, they're legit. They're kind of like the snipers of the Honolulu Police Department, like literally the traffic snipers. They can sit behind a pole. They will literally hide behind a pole, and they'll peek right around the pole with the little laser guns, and they'll point it at you. And man, if they catch you, there's nothing. I mean, it's a laser gun, right? They know who it is, and they even keep track of it. And I would say 7 out of 10 times, they're not even going to get on a motorcycle. Okay, maybe I'm giving a fake number. I don't know what the number is, but a lot of times they won't even get on a motorcycle. They will stand out in the middle of the freeway. They'll point their finger at you, and they'll point to the side of the shoulder lane until you pull over. And a lot of times people will just pull over. I don't remember anybody not listening to them, maybe once or twice. But man, they get you, and you don't, you know, like you don't pull over. Like there's no place to go. Like you're on an island. There is nowhere for you to go. So I give props to the police officers. It doesn't matter if they're in Hawaii or Oregon. Although in Oregon, I wish they would turn the lights on once in a while, you know, like just let us know that they're behind us, or let us know they're ahead of us. And I want to give a shout out to anybody that is in law enforcement. That's a police officer. We've had family that retired a few years ago in the Honolulu Police Department. I had a lot of great friends in the police department, and I give you guys props. You guys are risking your lives every single day. And even in light of recent events and with the George Floyd, whatever things they're putting out there in terms of autopsy reports, and, you know, the family, the truth is, no matter what the context is, I think we're in need of a lot of good people out there on the road as far as law enforcement. And if you're a first responder, you too. But in the era of law enforcement, man, we really need some good people out there. And I think the last thing we need is less police officers that aren't trained. And I think, I forget who was talking about it. I want to say Jocko. He was talking about most police officers are not trained outside of the realm of their police academy. They do a lot of things in a police academy, but once they're out on the road, once they're commissioned or they're ready to patrol, they have very little training. And so I'm not for what's the word, defunding any of the law enforcement, but use those finances to get them the proper training. I think years ago, one of the things I remember talking to one of our close family friends about, and he talked about one of the things he not hates, but one of the most, what's the word, dangerous scenarios is when they have to respond to a domestic between like a couple or family members, but a lot of times it's the couples, usually because it's very heated, and a lot of times it's just bad. And so that's one of the things he really does not enjoy responding to, although I mean that's his job, right? So it's not like he doesn't want to do it, but it's just something that they take extreme caution. And so, my heart goes out to all the law enforcement officers that have been through legal issues and legal battles, whether it's because of public outcries and those things. We're not going to get into a political discussion about it, but it is heartbreaking, even hearing about the latest things in social media with George Floyd and all that. So my heart does go out to even the families involved in all those on both sides. And I will say this, in the area of law enforcement, we've been, I can't remember how many cities. I would say we've been through, how many cities have we been through? I don't know, quite a bit. But I've noticed that in different cities, I'll share this story to tie the cities and the cops. So we had years ago a team of people, and I'll just say young, very young. I even know the word. I don't want to make it sound disrespectful, but they were young. They were in the low 20s. I think some even under 20. But they were part of our team. We were in this company. It was a marketing company, and so we had taken a trip to LA, and so we were there. I want to say a week. And we had a conference, a business conference, which is one of those crazy conferences where there was like, I think 10 to 12,000 people all in a building, just like super excited about making money. And it was such a surreal experience. But here's a story. Because we were, I guess you can say we were the upline. And so we were in charge of these kids. I'll just say kids. And, but they were all amazing producers. They helped us build our team. I think we had 1,000 people total in our team because of them. And so we had gotten a van. It was I think a 15-passenger van. And I will never forget, we were in LAX. Our first stop obviously is to go get hamburgers from In-N-Out Burger. So one of the things we did was we spent a couple of days just holo holo or gallivanting, there's other words for it, but just kind of exploring. And I don't even remember the highway, but I tell you this, we were traveling and we had to make 2 hours turn into an hour and a half or something like that. We had to make some time. So I'm the one driving and everybody else is already sleeping, most everybody. And I just remember I'm going 95 miles an hour in this 15-passenger van because I'm looking at the time. I think we got to be there at a certain time. And I'm going 95 miles an hour. Now, I'm from Hawaii, so to me, that's fast. So some of you guys, I don't know if that's fast or not for you, but for me, this local rider from Hawaii, that's fast. So, but in my justification, there was like 5 or 6 of us on this 6-lane highway, all going 95. We were all just like, so I think the word that law enforcement or even we use is we were, what's the word? Going the pace of traffic, the flow of traffic. So we were going at the flow of traffic. I think that's the right terminology. And I'm like, man, we're going 95, and the van is like, every time we hit like a dip in the road, it's like the whole van is kind of like bouncing, and the wheel kind of jerks a little bit, and nothing dangerous, but it could have been ugly if something really bad happened, like somebody swerving. Well, I noticed in the back, in the front, I seen these yellow flashing lights. Like, what is that? So mind you, now this is in 2006, I think, or 2007. So I don't have a lot of experience at that time in terms of law enforcement, but as the yellow lights get bigger, I notice it's a California Highway Patrol, and he's got his yellow lights flashing, and he's slowing down to everybody, and all of us are like, we all slow down, and we all slow down to around 65-ish, I think, around there, and he just makes us all slow down, and then once he's happy with everybody's speed, he kind of speeds off and takes the next exit. And I thought, okay, that's legit. This guy could have put over one by one, made us wait, maybe, but he chose to just control the flow of traffic. And to this day, I thought that was pretty cool because, when I go to different cities, bro, I'll tell you this much, and I mean no disrespect, and I'm just telling you my perspective, but some of you guys, bro, in Detroit, bro, this is one city, well, actually not city, anyways, the freeway, I remember going through Detroit, and me and my dad were going to a business conference in Detroit. And we had a little putt-putt. I call them those K cars. It was like a 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder car, 2-door, super small economy. If you've never met my dad, that's my dad. It wasn't about money because we could have got an upgrade for free probably. But my dad, I guess, he wanted a super economy car. Well, I'm flooring it on this highway, in this freeway, in downtown Detroit. And if you remember what I talked about Hawaii, where we have our own Aloha Spirit rules of the road, well, that kind of transferred to when I was driving. And so I'm going 70 miles an hour. I'm in the passing lane trying to get over to the not passing lane. And I couldn't because I had this little putt-putt pedal to the floor. Bro, I'm flooring it and I'm going 70. That's the fastest I could make this car go. That's the fastest I could make this car go, 70 miles an hour, and cars are just flying by me like vroom, vroom. Like I say, wow, these guys are nuts, these guys are crazy. And it got to the point where I had to figure out how to get over. But before I could get over, there was this minivan like just about to fly right by me, and then instead of flying by me, this minivan just like literally not stops, but it paces with me. And I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen? And I look over, and I'm not even exaggerating. And I exaggerate a lot, but on this part of the story, I'm not. This lady was driving a Dodge Caravan with hubcaps flying off, rusted doors, and she's going 70 with me. And she looks over, gives me the middle finger, and then floors it and just passes me. And then I'm like, okay, I got to get over. And I thought, these guys in Detroit are crazy. Minivans, motors, it doesn't matter. They were all going way over 70. And I thought, man, that's insane that these people are driving like this. And even I got two more cities I'll talk about, and we'll shift gears for a second. But Denver, Colorado. Bro, Denver and Colorado Springs, you guys drive with extreme furious anger. Like, I don't know what that is or where that comes from, but I've heard multiple stories on why and the reasons. But I just noticed, man, I feel like you guys are angry. And like, what in the world? What happened that's so traumatic today that there's anger? And one of the stories I heard was that there's a lot of transplants and people that are not residents, and so there's a lot of aggression. But I know it's stressful. A lot of people got to go to work, and there's traffic. And I'll tell this story I heard after this one. But I just felt, man, these guys are really angry. I feel like even my wife noticed it, because when people are pulling over, or not pulling over, switching lanes, there were multiple times where I felt like they just wanted to like whip it over and like let you know that they're getting into your lane. It wasn't like a turn signal, like and just kind of pull over. It was like, I'm going to just whip this car over as fast as I can into your lane. And if you're in a way, so too bad. And I just thought that was very interesting. So in different cities, I've noticed that. And Boston, believe it or not, is actually, I remember driving in Boston. And as crazy as that city is in terms of traffic, and the roads are kind of slim in the downtown areas, it reminded me a lot of Honolulu. Like just the type of driving. And not the same, because Honolulu is a little bit different. We've got a lot of tourism, so you've got a lot of people not paying attention to road signs. They're paying attention to like the beach and the coconut trees and all that stuff. They're not really paying attention to the road. So it's similar, but not 100%. And I'll share this story, and we'll shift gears. I think I want to talk a little bit about some things that are upcoming and some really good stories. But I was listening to this podcast today, and it cracked me up because this guy was talking about, because he does a lot of tours. He's a comedian, and I won't say who it is because you can figure it out on your own. But this comedian was talking about, I traveled to so many cities, and I remember I was in this one small town, and he was complaining about how bad the traffic was. He was in a small city, and he was getting so irritated, man, and he was getting really vocal. And then the Uber driver turned around and told him, all this traffic, they're here for you. And the comedian was like, oh, well, I love this city. He said, this city is amazing, not realizing. And then he's like, oh, that's awesome. And he was, it wasn't a throwing shade at the city. It was more like he was just kind of like blessed, or it was like surreal that people would pay money to go see him for 2 hours, and of course cause traffic in their own city so they could be there for him. And I thought that was a funny traffic story, cop story, but one that I will say, family, and I'll close it out with one of my favorite cities, and that's in Portland and Gresham. That's where I spent a lot of time. And I will say, we talk a lot about Portland, but family, I tell you this much: if you've never been to Gresham, Oregon, I promise you've seen all the videos of Portland. Yeah, it's probably accurate, but there's something about Gresham, Oregon. The way they drive is I want to say it's close to how people in Denver drive. Not so much on the aggression maybe, but definitely on the changing lane aspect. I will say, and stoplights. And if you're a Gresham resident, I know I'm not trying to offend you in any way, but you know what I'm talking about. The way they drive in Gresham is definitely a little bit different than Portland. Here's the funny thing is in Oregon versus Hawaii, because in Hawaii, the cops are very strict in terms of, like if you got a broken windshield in Honolulu, you're not allowed to drive that on the road. Like a cop at some point pull you over. And I am not exaggerating, family. There was a time, I would say about a year and a half ago, my wife and I were driving. We was driving in Portland on the highway, and this guy had a windshield. Okay, let me rephrase that. He had something that looked like a windshield, but it was all shattered, and I don't know how you could see. I don't understand, but I see a lot of that in Portland, not so much where we live in Central Oregon, but I was like, okay, and we see bumpers hanging. You can't make this stuff up. It's crazy, but it leads all to the culture of, I want to say, law enforcement. And I know it's not entirely their responsibility, but I do believe that the culture of our law enforcement, our police, public servants, policemen, policewomen, that their presence obviously does affect the way people drive, the way we speed, the way we make turn signals, all those things. I've been put over for a lot of little things like not making a turn signal or skipping a lane or two. But I will say that the culture of our police officers in each of our cities, it does determine, the type of driving that we have, not to mention all the other things. And so, but, we're talking about culture. And in the very beginning, I asked everybody, how you guys, I think I did ask you guys. If I didn't, I apologize. But, one of the things that we're learning about culture, we're making this sourdough. I think we're doing it right. I think we forgot. My wife said, wait, did we forget? So we're making this sourdough starter. My daughter is into this homesteading. I don't remember it being so much work. Like every night, yeah. Every night we're doing something to it. Like we're stirring it, adding flour. I don't know. We're doing something. And it's like, bro, this is a lot of work. And I'll say, I'm excited if it works, because I love a good sourdough. And for anybody, to all my carnivore friends and carnivore community, I don't think there's any confusion that I'm a firm believer in the carnivore diet, but I don't adhere to it 100% because I like eating certain things. And my justification is, you know what, we're going to eat it well. We're going to eat it fresh, homemade, organic, non-GMO. We're not going to pay somebody else to like give us 55 ingredients. We're going to do it ourselves and give ourselves 4 ingredients. So, and it's good. And my daughter's doing it, you know, and we're also learning to grow our own food. And so going back to the sourdough, I'm hoping we get it right, because if we don't, man, that's a lot of time we spent making this sourdough starter. I don't know how we do it, but it's flour and water, and we mix it. But it's a certain type of flour, a 2-part flour, and so we let it just whole wheat and what? Whole wheat, all-purpose.
Same ingredient level.
So same ingredient level, and basically we stir it and we just let it sit, and then
you take half off and you keep half.
So, and so we're just trying to see if it works, and if it does work, then amazing. But it leads me to the word culture, and we're talking about how if the police force in a certain city is prevalent and they're doing a job well, they're doing things with excellence. They are, believe it or not, fam, I'm a firm believer that they are the culture of the city, outside of obviously the citizens. But I'm talking about in terms of law enforcement. And so going back to the sourdough, I don't want to bounce back to the cops, but in our sourdough starter, if it works, I'm excited because I love sourdough. I used to work at this place called Schlotsky's Deli when I was in college, and I loved working for Schlotsky. It's a tongue twister. Schlotsky's Deli, and it's so funny because I don't know what ethnicity Schlotsky's is. I want to say it's something European, obviously, but the owner of this place was Chinese. I still remember his name, Mr. Steven So. Mr. Steven So, if you're still around, I want to thank you for giving me that job. I was a sandwich maker. I was also a amateur baker, and the lady who did all the baking, I think it was a lady. Yeah, it was a lady. It was a lady. I remember she would show me how to get this sourdough starter, and we'd mix it in this huge Hobart mixer. And I was like, this is cool. And the reason why I enjoy doing it, because my mom used to cook a lot. And making this bread, I would say it was fun. And then we made like hundreds of sourdough breads. We made the dark rye, the wheat, and they were all based on a sourdough starter. So they were all sourdough with that. It was just cool. I mean, well, I don't know if they're, I take that back. But anyways, the sourdough bread was legit. It had a lot of bubbles in it, like this. It's airy bubbles. So when you put your cheese and you put it on the grill, bro, it was, yeah. The new Schlotsky's today, I don't know if they have the same magic. I don't know, because if you're an employee of a restaurant, you made it extra special, extra better. You add a little bit more cheese, a little bit more bacon. You added more meat for yourself, and but going back to the culture. If that culture is not done right, then that entire batch, the entire day, and in some cases the entire week would have been shot, because some of the bread, you would make the bread let's say on a Monday, and it would have to last you until like usually Wednesday or Thursday, because they would refrigerate a lot of it. And so, I will say that in the area of culture, I think this is a good way for me. I want to segue to another topic I want to talk about, and that's this big fight that is coming up. It's coming up in July, I think July 20th. And I don't know if you're a boxing fan. I'm not really a boxing fan. I wouldn't be able to tell you, who was a champ of this or who was in this division. I can tell you, though, just growing up as a kid, one of my favorite games, I won't tell you the secret code, because there was a code. I think it's up, down, down, left, right, A, B, B, A, select start, or something crazy like that. It would take you to the champ. and that was Mike Tyson. And my first gaming console, actually my first gaming console was an Atari 2600, but my most epic console of all time, the Nintendo Entertainment System. And Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was like the game. I would literally play that game for hours just to beat him. And brother man, Mike Tyson on July 20th is going to be boxing. Oh my gosh, I'm brain farting already. I'm going to Google it now. He was a Vine sensation, him and his brother. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just forgot that. Anyways, on July 20th, he's going to be fighting Jake Paul. I had to look it up. And I've seen some fights with Jake Paul. Jake Paul is an amazing fighter. I wouldn't consider him great or anything like that, just based on the limited knowledge that I have of him. But he's done a lot for the industry from what I've heard and what I've read. And all this drama, all this hype, I know it's all marketing. And I'm sure some of it's legit, but I know that Mike Tyson and Jake Paul are friends. At least, outside of the ring. I think when they get in the ring, it's a different story. But going back into the word of culture, the fact that Jake Paul is a great boxer, I'm sure he's got some heavy hands. I don't know about the skill sets that he has. I don't know if he has enough skill set to overcome Mike Tyson's skill sets. And it's not so much that Mike Tyson has a lot more skills per se, but it's the culture of what Mike Tyson is. It's the lifestyle that Mike Tyson is. It's the DNA that Mike Tyson cultivated for himself and for his family. And that DNA is, he doesn't do boxing as a sport. He doesn't do boxing as a chapter in his life. Mike Tyson will never, he'll never be able to say that he's not a boxer, or like even at 58 years old, because he'll be 58 when he boxes Jake Paul. The culture of who he is, his DNA, is so immense, I think, and I may be wrong. I'm not saying he's going to win or lose. I don't know. But I just know that training videos that I've seen of him are just crazy intense at 58 years old. And they say that the one thing that does not disappear when someone is a boxer, the last thing to go to leave a boxer is his power. And everybody agrees. So if the last thing to go is his power, and you look at the training videos, he's still got his speed. So does he have speed and power, or did he lose power and just go to, I don't think he lost his power. And it'll be a good fight, I believe. I don't think anything negative about it. And here's the reason why. I think it's good for someone that does content creation. I do content creation, obviously, on all socials. It's crazy to me that Jake Paul has been able to secure these big dollar events with advertising revenue, all those things, and to be able to get Mike Tyson on top of that. And some of the other fights, I don't know if I would consider them, on this. Obviously, they're not on this level, but he's creating his own culture, and I don't agree with it. Obviously, I don't agree with the language and all this. That's just not me. But I do respect the fact that the culture he's creating, where they're making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars outside of the realm of the establishment of boxing, and that's huge. And so I give him props for that. But going back to Mike Tyson, the one thing that really got my attention with him is I think it's called the peekaboo. If you're bored, go on to YouTube, type in the search terms peekaboo Mike Tyson, and you would be like, okay, peekaboo is kind of like, I don't even know because I'm not a boxer. It's kind of like ducking and weaving, and it's using a lot of your upper body to kind of like basically play peekaboo with your opponent. It's kind of like you're hiding, and you kind of like it's surreal, and he does it really well. And if he's still got that, man, I am concerned for Jake Paul in that area. I'm not concerned with Jake Paul really getting a lot of physical damage per se, but whether Jake Paul wins or loses, I think it's still good either way. And even for Mike Tyson, because the culture, and I will say that what it leads to my next talking point for today is Mike Tyson's a fighter. No matter what, he's a fighter. He fought when he was not in a good space. He fought when he retired. He came back and did a couple of what do they call those, exhibitions. When he lost his daughter, he was a fighter then too. Even trying to do interviews, he tried to do multiple interviews, and there was this one interview when he was in a much better space, and the interviewer had asked him about what happened with his daughter. So if you don't know the story, I think his daughter was, I don't know if she was 2 or 4, but she had a tragic accident with a treadmill, and Mike Tyson was trying to walk through that scenario. I'll replay that in this podcast, in this interview. And there were a couple of occasions where Mike Tyson was weeping, and he had to end the interview early. And there's another one where Mike Tyson, when he had addressed the are you tired of being the odd man out at family reunions or those family gatherings over the holidays because you're the one taking a photo of the family and your head is in the entire frame? Well, go to archon.com, get yourself a very reliable, sturdy, robust tripod, which are literally bendable and moldable to almost any situation. Go to archon.com, get yourself a tripod. Now, they also have devices and mounting solutions for those of you that have tablets, cell phones, whether you are a professional photographer and you have a DSLR camera, they have that too. Now, if you are a professional driver, maybe you're a gig driver, maybe you are one of those weekend warriors that earns a little bit of extra money for your family on the weekends, you do Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, you're one of those heroes, go to archon.com. They have everything you would need. And also, if you are an airline pilot, that's right, if you are an airline pilot, they actually have mounts for you too. So when you do those barrel roll flips as a United Airlines pilot, don't worry, your passengers may be freaking out, but as long as your tablet is safe, go to archon.com. Be sure to put in Hawaii at promo code and you get 20% off your entire order. Archon.com. Keeping your devices within reach. You know, with Mike Tyson, just really thinking about how the adversities, you know, with his daughter, and that one episode where he was asked about his daughter, and they said, like, how do you overcome? How did you overcome that? And I think his phrasing was, I didn't. He just knows that every day he works to have new victories every day, make his daughter proud, and just keep moving on. He's never overcome it. He's never, I can't remember the phrasing, but basically he's never gotten over it. And, he just knows that he's got to continue to fight for what he has here. And one of the things he said was, when it happened, he had this desire or this burning pain inside of him. And one of the things was to do something very crazy. And then when he said that he saw all the other families who were there for the same reasons, he was like, who am I, to pass this level of judgment when these people are going through the same thing or worse that he's gone through. And so I thought that was very interesting. We're talking about culture. We're talking about the culture of Mike Tyson, the culture of how important it is to have a good culture. And if we're talking about fighters, I'm talking about a very special fighter in my camp, if you will. And this fighter, he's been fighting since October 12th of 2021. And for those of you that know me, he's been fighting for, it'll be 3 years in a couple of months, in a few months, well, maybe about 4 or 5 months. I'm bad with counting. So May, June, July, August, September, October. So in 5 months, it'll be 3 years. So my brother, he's a fighter. He's been fighting for his life since October 12th, 2021. And for those of you that have heard the story, I apologize, but I just want to give a quick layout of what I mean by that. So for those of you that don't know, my brother had suffered a series of strokes, 7 to be exact. And a month prior to him having these strokes, he had COVID-19, and he had overcome that from what we gather. But there was still some heaviness in, from what we later learned, was his blood was thick. It had coagulated. And so one of the causes of the 7 strokes was blood clots. And so the 2 that they found, one was in the midbrain and one was in the cerebellum. So for anybody that is familiar with blood clotting, if you have blood clots in, let's say, your cerebellum, that's the upper part of your brain, and the midbrain is closer to like your neck area. And so because it was so complicated in that respect, there was bleeding on one end and there's stoppage on the other. It made it very difficult for the doctors to administer blood thinners, which actually they did not administer any, just because of the risk of, just making it a lot worse. So in light of all that, my brother was basically written off as someone that should be receiving, I don't even know the term, I want to say palliative care or end of life care. And so through all of that, and understanding laws in Oregon are a lot different than Hawaii, my family stepped in and basically advocated for him. And I'm glad we did, because my brother had no desire for end of life care. He had no desire for palliative care, comfort care, whatever terms they use. He wanted to fight, and I'm glad we did intervene on his behalf, because even to this day, he's still fighting. He's still very adamant on saying, hey, I'm going to fight. And for anybody that's like, well, how severe? The severity is this. He's had 7 strokes. What's the term? So he's got, he was intubated for about 2.5, almost 3 weeks. He was basically in a coma, and this is all during COVID. So I was not allowed to enter the room. He was basically in a glass cube for about a month, and there was no visitors allowed because of the severity of the regulations of the hospital at this time. I won't name the hospital, but I'll just leave it at, they were for in terms of the staffing was great. I think the whole administrative side was rough. And so, but through all of that, my brother fought, and to this day, he's able to communicate, just not vocally, because he's got a trach and a peg, and so that limits a lot of the ability for him to speak at this moment. But if you know me and my wife, we're firm believers in the wonder working power of God, and we praise God for my brother's lengthy recovery, the victories that he's had. He's actually had a lot of breakthroughs in the course of this 2.5 years. And a lot of that breakthrough has been, people would look at it as tiny little things, but if you were my brother, those are huge. And so I'll share some of the things on social media. We've played guitar with him. He was playing piano. And as a matter of fact, we're going to go visit him tomorrow because he turns 52 tomorrow. My brother's a fighter. And I am blessed beyond measure to be able to do life together with my family here in Oregon, even if for a season, just so we can be with my brother. And so, we're talking about the culture, and one of the things we're teaching our kids is the culture of what, number one, a family that serves God and what that looks like, but also the culture of what it really means to take care of your brother, take care of your sister. We have 4 kids. We have four organic spiritual kids here on earth, and we have 3 that are enjoying life up in heaven. And so, one of the things our kids are learning while we're here is cultivating themselves and the culture. Obviously, we serve the Lord. My kids, I will tell you this, and I'm going to brag on them for a second, but they've been homeschooled for 7 years now. And our kids are advanced. They're blessed. We teach them. We're responsible for their education. We're responsible for helping identify and shape their social behaviors. And one of the things people talk about a lot when it comes to homeschooling, like, is a famous question. There's two famous questions. Oh, okay, I take that back. There's one famous question, and one of the famous questions is, are you not concerned about their social well-being? And that's a very valid point. Extremely valid, really. And nobody really knows what that really means until you do it yourself, until you take your kids for homeschool, or if you've been a homeschool student yourself. I've never been homeschooled. I have been to a private school. Good portion, over half of my educational life was private schools, and the other half was public. My wife has never been homeschooled, but the one thing we chose to do was there was a point in Hawaii's political climate that had really, the political climate of Hawaii at a certain time, about 7-8 years ago, was where the government started to intervene on education and really set their graphs or their hooks into the educational system, and to do a lot of intervention, which did not fall into our philosophy of, and even our personal beliefs on how we should raise our kids. So that's when we started homeschooling them. And I will say this, there are no regrets at all. None. My wife is smiling right now. I mean, there's no regrets. The only thing I would say is, looking back, is doing maybe a little bit more on the excursion side. But now that we're here in Oregon, we have so much more freedom to do a lot more traveling. And we've been traveling a lot. In this short 2-year span, we've traveled more with our kids, because of my brother too, but I would say at least 20 times collectively. And so, going back to the culture and the homeschool and tying it all in with my brother, through all of the traumatic things we've been through, I will say that culture of teaching our kids of what it really means, to have a life that is not just pleasing to the Lord, but also learning how to, I tell you, let me add another tidbit to this. My kids, my son, my youngest son, he will flex on you with his brain, and you would never expect it. But because he's the most vocal out of all of them in terms of, my youngest son is not afraid to talk. Like, he will have conversations, and I'm not saying the other ones are afraid to, but my youngest son, Gideon, man, he will have a conversation and he will flex. He will pull out facts. My wife has been so good in teaching them. My youngest son knows all about the world wars. He knows who was this and who was that, and he also knows biology. And he watches a lot of YouTube, so he likes to spit out facts once in a while. So be careful if you're trying to engage in a game of Jeopardy with him. He might beat you. My youngest daughter, she wrote a program or designed a game when she was 10, I think it was 10. And I remember asking her, Zoe, why did you create a program? And she goes, I don't know, I just wanted to do it. So she watched this YouTube video, and I guess there was a program my wife had, they had access to. So my daughter was coding at 10 years old. Isn't that crazy, family? My youngest daughter was coding at 10 years old. And she doesn't do it anymore. She just, I don't want to do it anymore. So that's the beauty of homeschooling our kids, is that there's no ceiling, there's no grade levels, there's no bell that runs their life. Although I think sometimes we need to adjust our bell, because sometimes our school bell rings a little bit late. So that's one of the pluses and minuses of homeschooling, is that there's no stress of missing the bus. There's no stress of running back to class before the second bell rings. There's none of that stresses for the kids. And going back to the social aspect, and that's a very valid point that someone had brought up. The problem with that question is that if that's going to be our biggest objection to homeschooling, or one of the major ones, then I don't think it's valid because of this. We're in 2024. Okay, and I don't know how many years we've had a public educational system, or even private education, because I went to both. kids are still trying to figure out themselves socially. And we've got governments and schools and even private institutions trying to teach our kids what it means to be socially proper or socially, I don't even know the word, socially, I'm just going to throw socially fitting to a community or whatever, to learn proper social skills or healthy social skills or to have a healthy social life. They're still trying to figure that stuff out in 2024. And when I'm talking about our kids, they have one philosophy, and that's mom and dad's, right? We're teaching them the social environment. And I will say it feels good because, number one, they're our kids. They are our responsibility. And some people would say, well, aren't you concerned like when they leave you or that they're not going to fit in? I said, no, because I have friends and family, and I always use this example, but it's true. I've had friends who are in their late 40s, and they're still trying to figure out their social life. I mean, you look at social media, you look at Facebook and Instagram, people are still trying to figure out themselves socially. They still, it's, for lack of a better word, it's like a drama town square, it seems like, and we're all adults. So going back to the whole social, aren't you concerned? I am very concerned about their social well-being, and that's why we homeschool them. I don't need anybody talking to my kids about certain things that are my responsibility, and that's our choice. Now, the other objection, which was legitimate, that was brought up was, well, who's going to be home with them? And so my wife and I decided, and I think she's one of the blessings that even though I got to go out and, provide income work, and actually now we do a lot from home, that she was responsible for a lot of the shaping of their social and educational. Now, if you go to church or you have what they call co-ops, there's a lot of opportunities to expand your kids' social well-being, if that's even the word. But the fact that we were the ones with them the entire time, for the most part, there's no way to gauge that value because it's priceless. And so, to answer that question, aren't you concerned when they graduate or when they leave your house? Man, they've got 60 years to be by themselves. And by God, if I can have them for just 18 years, I want to make sure we treat each year well. Like we steward every moment we have with them well, because they got the rest of their life to figure it out. If I will say this, if there's one thing that I'm very proud about, is that one thing my kids will never, ever be able to accuse us of is to say that mom and dad were not there. Mom and dad did not teach us. They will say my mom and dad taught me. And even if, what is that, honey?
Helpful cook.
And helpful cook. So my kids, my marine biology, check. Forestry, check. Economics, check. Technology, double check. We've got like, I'm gonna look on I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I feel like I'm singing Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's just throw a number. We've got at least 10 computers, and not all of them are being used because some of them are kind of beat up. But we've got a lot of electronic devices that give them access to education. So I'll close up with that, and I'm going to land the plane in a minute. The culture of our family, of our home, the fabric of everything, it's always, obviously it's centered around God. Like everything the culture is centered around Christ and serving Him. Now, when it comes to our children, the culture of everything they learn, the source of it all, it comes from home. Social, educational, technology, music, cooking, baking, farming. My kids do farming, like legit farming. We're not extremely good at it, but we're doing it, And so we're learning to do things with excellence while we're here in Oregon in this chapter, in this season. Even though it's a challenging one, just being with my brother and walking him through this season of his life, I'm a firm believer that, to go back to my brother, and then we'll come in for a landing. My brother, although the battle has been severe, whether you are a Christian or not, I want you to look up. Just make it easy for you. Type in your search. Man at the pool, 38 years. Angel stirring the waters. I want you to type that in your search criteria. And I want you to read that scripture, that passage. And I'll paraphrase it for you, but I want you to look it up. Is that, and whether you're a Christian or not, I want you to read the story. The story is amazing. And here's the reason why. I think not everybody may agree on Christianity, but I think we all can agree that there are miracles that happen today. And so in that story, in that scripture, there's a guy at the pool. Every time that there's this angel that would like fly around this pool. And every time the wings would touch the water, he would stir the waters. And all the people around this pool would go nuts. They'd go crazy because they would all jump in this pool. And whoever jumped in this pool would get healed. And this poor guy was crippled, but he couldn't even get in the pool. He couldn't get in there fast enough, and he just couldn't get in there. Nobody would help him up. So one day, here comes Jesus, right? He walks by, he looks at this guy, and he's like, do you want to be healed? Like, why are you here? And so the guy explains himself, and Jesus goes, well, do you want to be healed? And he goes, yeah, but there's nobody here to help me. And Jesus says, well, just pick up your mat and walk. Family, this was 38 years this guy was sitting at this pool. And when Jesus told him to pick up his mat and walk, he brought a man, picked up his mat, and he walked. And so I want to throw this out there for anybody that's been struggling, going through something. Type that up in your Google search. Man sitting in a pool, 38 years, angel stirring the waters, healed. Just type that in. And it's a good read. So I just hope that encourages somebody to speak to somebody. And even to this day, my brother, every day in my journal, I've got it written in various places that we declare life over his body. I have it on my whiteboard up against my wall that we declare healing in his life. And I'm just blessed to be able to say that we're going to be witness to that. And if you've ever seen me on social, we're going to line up playing around for this one. You may have seen me transition from being bald. I was bald for 20 years. Bald or pretty close to bald. But in the past year and a half, almost 2 years, I started to grow my hair out. And here's the reason why. And I've been fighting to not shave it recently just because I have had some issues with my scalp. But I'm going to push through. My brother started talking with my wife one day. And he didn't have his valve in, is what I think that's the term. And so she called me, and my brother very clearly said, "Hey, Greg," multiple times. And I remember just busting out in tears. And I was so proud of him. I will never forget that feeling of how proud I was to hear him talk. And the story with him was he always loved his hair. So they had to shave his head because he had like psoriasis or some kind of scalp issues. And I know my brother loved his hair. And just out of emotion, I said on the phone to my brother, it was a video phone call. And I said, "Bryce, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, Bryce. You know what? I know how much you loved your hair. And you know what? I'm going to grow my hair out just for you." And I was crying. I had never forget. I was crying. "I'm going to grow my hair out just for you, Bryce. And you know what? I'm not going to cut it. I'm not going to cut my hair until you walk out of the hospital." So that's the story of my hair, family. And it's kind of long. So it's been a while. So Bryce, I'm going to let you hear this part. Hurry up. Because I have a lot of gray hair. And, deep down inside, I know there's only two ways that I would cut my hair. I'll tell you this, family. I rebuke the other thought that says, you'll cut your hair when this happens. So, when it comes to Jesus healing a guy after 38 years, it's only been 2.5 years. My brother. So, and it's not going to take that long, my wife said. But I'll tell you this, family. Even if my hair gets down to my okole, as we say in Hawaii, I don't care. I'm going to rock that. I'm going to rock it well. And so that's the story of my brother. He's a fighter. Mike Tyson's a fighter. Back apparently I'm a fighter too. So is my wife. And we want to fight for you. So if anybody is, going through something that's challenging or tough, if you don't know, we are pastors. We're state leaders for a prayer network. Part of our passion, at the end of the day, what we do is we're into relationships. So if anybody's going through some tough stuff, man, we got a hotline. I'm going to promote this. It's 541-903-8327. I'm going to say it one more time, 541-903-8327. Have it up on the screen for anybody watching the live stream. And we want to, I don't know how long it'll last because I don't know how Google Voice works. That's how we did it. And so you call in, there's 3 minutes. You can share your story, just give us a word of encouragement. You can say, hey, I'm going through this. Or if you're going through something tough, what I want to do though is if we can't pray with you directly or walk you through, we've got an amazing team of people that we're in alignment with. Pastors, clinical psychologists, prayer warriors, leaders. I'm going to say the word again, prayer warriors. We have some legit prayer warriors in our camp. And so that's our offer to you. And I just want to bless you guys. And so in the pipeline, what's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks to a month and a half or so, I got some pretty exciting people in the pipeline. We got people from Finland, Canada. I got, who else I got coming in here? I won't drop the name until we can secure the actual time, because I have people in different time zones. So we got to coordinate when we can do these podcasts. I've got a couple in Hawaii that I'm excited to do the podcast with them organically. One of you've already met him, but David Padilla. But I look forward to the day when I can do one with him organically, because he's actually an amazing announcer. He actually used to call fights before as well. I remember that now that I'm just thinking about it. So yeah, that's what's coming in Pipeline family. What else? I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to talk about before we end this podcast. I want to say thank you for those of you that have been tuning in to my live streams. If you don't know, I'm going to try to do it from memory. We are live on X, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, occasionally Instagram if it works, Facebook, depending on who I have as a guest. I try not to spam. Facebook is my family. So yeah, I try not to spam their feed. There's enough of that on Facebook. But that's where we're live, or live streams and the audio. Thank you for those of you that are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts. Thank you. So that's it, family. I want to just say thank you again for those of you that just stuck with us over the years. I've been doing this since 2015 on a personal level. And so I want to say I'm grateful. I'm so blessed that you guys are here. And don't forget, go to my website, therealgilo.com. Get you some merch, bro. We got some pickleball paddles, bro. We have one called Aole Maka'u, I think that's the word, which is no fear. So when you get a chance, go to my website, therealgilo.com, click on merchandise, look for the pickleball paddle. It's a limited edition. It's Aole Maka'u, which is no fear. Family, it's been a joy. My name is Brother Greg, aka The Real Gilo. Love you guys. As I always say, thank you for your time, for your hearts, however you give me the hearts, your time, data, all that good stuff. But most importantly, thank you for your time above everything else. As I always say, love you guys. God bless you guys. Ahui ho. Aloha and mahalo. Yes, sir. Chee-hoo.
Woke up every day like this. It's a brand new day.